Hello, and welcome to A Beginner's Guide to Nutrition. Hi there, and thank you for joining. My name is Megan Blunt, and I'm a registered holistic nutritionist and a certified nutritional practitioner. I became a holistic nutritionist because I wanted to heal my own issues. I had some health issues and I was curious, trying to understand what was happening, and I wanted to help myself as well as others. And so I went back to school and learned about how our body can heal itself and how all parts of our body are connected and how food plays a major role in our overall wellness. Here's the agenda for our session. We'll go through our learning objectives for today, what we hope for you to get out of it, what is important about nutrition, what nutrients do we need, how food impacts our daily lives, and some takeaways for you to leave with. So the outcomes and what we hope you can leave with today is to have a basic understanding of what nutrition is, and to discover the role that nutrition plays in our daily lives, and learn about the nutrients that we need to sustain ourselves and to thrive. So what is nutrition? Nutrition is part of our overall wellness and living a healthy lifestyle. One of the definitions is the substances that you take into your body as food and the way that they influence your health. So that's pretty powerful. That's stating that what you eat has an impact on your overall health and well-being. You know, and we all want to live healthy, happy, productive lives, but nutrition is not something that we think plays a role in that, but it really does. What we put into our body matters. What we put on our body, what we're surrounded with, actually also matters as well. What we eat plays an important role in our social, physical, and mental well-being. It's important for our mood, it's important for our energy, it's important for our concentration, it's important for our sleep, helps to ward off viruses and diseases, and has many more functions. So I hope that you will leave with an expanded awareness of the role that nutrition and what we put into our body plays in helping us lead healthy lives. And we hope that it will help you make some healthy decisions for yourself and those around you. I want to talk about food habits, and it's really important because as we grow up, we learn from our parents, we learn from our family, we learn from all those experiences that we have, we learn from our culture, we learn from celebrations. Food is a big part of many of our celebrations. And so when we learn those habits, we tend to model the same habits as we grow. For me, I still use some of the same food tips or ways of preparing food or ways of eating, and some of those rituals that my grandparents and my parents taught me. And it really, in a way, makes me feel connected to them when I do the same things that they did. So, you know, if our parents didn't learn about food and how to, choose healthy food and how to prepare food in a healthy way, then chances are we don't know how to do that if we weren't taught that. So really, knowledge is power, and we don't know what we don't know, right? So if we can learn some healthy habits, if we can move forward and learn some skills in making some healthy choices, then we can pass that on to our next generation. And learning how food affects us, and learning how today, in today's day and age right now, food prices are really changing, and it's going to be really powerful to know what to spend your money on and how to make choices that give us the most amount of nutrients, and how to get the most from our food. So let's think about what food does for us. And the bottom line is it is actually fuel for our body, among other things. So let's think of our body like a car engine. And obviously, we want to give that engine the proper amount and type of gas or fuel in order for it to run and perform as best that it can. So the fuel that we give that engine comes directly from the food that we eat. And the food that we eat contain nutrients that sustain us and give our body all of the materials and nutrients that we need for it to function on a daily basis. So think about, how do you feel after a meal? And this is a really good indicator if you're giving your body the fuel that it needs. After eating, do you feel energized? Are you able to concentrate? Do you feel great? Or do you feel tired? Do you feel bloated or gassy? Or maybe you have a hard time concentrating. These are all signs telling us that our body is either accepting what we've eaten and our body is enjoying it and using it to the best of its ability, or it's not performing well after we've eaten. So this is something to be aware, and I hope that today you can start to think about, how does that food make you feel after you eat it? Should I be eating that food again? Is that going to be helpful? So here's something important to note. Did you know that less than 1 in 10 children and adults eat the recommended daily amount of vegetables? And also, only 4 in 10 children and only fewer than 1 in 7 adults eat enough fruit. This is pretty important information. And in reference, the Canada Food Guide recommends that we eat half of our plate during a meal filled with fruits and vegetables. So many of us are not getting enough fruits and vegetables throughout the day. And when we're thinking about that, one of the things I like to recommend is eating the rainbow. So think of your plate as having many different colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. There's so many different produce out there that we can fill our plate with, and it's just something to think about moving forward. So let's talk about sort of the basics of what happens when we eat and what does our food give us. There's 2 types of nutrients that our food gives us. One is macronutrients, and these are nutrients that the body needs in large amounts. And this is protein, fat, carbohydrates, and water. And our body needs smaller amounts, and these are called micronutrients, and these are vitamins and minerals. We'll dive a little bit deeper into each of these next. So the first macronutrient we're going to talk about is protein. And protein comes from the food that we eat, and it also is made by our body. And we really need protein for a lot of important functions. We need protein to produce muscles, bones, tissues, hormones, neurotransmitters, antibodies, and enzymes. Those are some very important functions in our body. And we also need it for growth and development, which is obviously important for children especially. And it is important to provide us with energy. So what happens when we eat a protein? It's broken down into what are called amino acids. Those amino acids are used by the body to make the protein that it needs. And our body is constantly breaking down, recycling, and building new proteins. So you can imagine how important consuming enough protein is. There's 2 types of sources of protein: animal proteins and plant proteins. So animal sources are meat, fish, dairy, and eggs, to name a few. And plant-based proteins are things such as grains and beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, and vegetables and fruit. So you might have heard the term complete and incomplete protein. So when we're looking at animal sources of protein, so the meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, these are all complete sources of protein. And this means that it's giving us all of the amino acids that we need. Some foods, such as plant-based sources of food, don't have all of the amino acids that we need, and these are incomplete proteins. So that just means that we have to eat a few different sources of those plant-based proteins in order to give us enough amino acids that we need to perform all those functions. So quality and quantity is important. If we are getting too little protein, this can lead to weight loss. Our muscles can atrophy, and this can cause severe fatigue. On the other hand, if we're getting too much protein, this may mean that we're not getting enough macronutrients in the other areas, such as fat and carbohydrates. The next macronutrient we'll talk about is fat, and fat has really gotten a bad reputation for a while. Many people avoid fat, but it's actually something that we need, and our body needs it to function. And fat is composed of building blocks called fatty acids, and they are 3 types: saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated. You might have heard of those before. Sources of fat can be animal sources, which are solid at room temperature, or plant sources. Some animal sources are fat is in meat, poultry, fish, dairy, and eggs. And some plant sources of fats, nuts and seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds, and pumpkin seeds, peanuts, almonds. Those are all sources of fat in plants. Vegetables, avocado, and olives and oils are plant-based sources. So why are fats important, and what do they do? They are also a type of fuel for our body. They provide insulation and keep us warm. They are needed in order for us to make hormones and to transport vitamins throughout our body. They form our cell membranes. They are needed for energy and growth as well. And it's vital for brain functioning. So during infancy and childhood, it's especially important because it's needed for normal brain development. And fat is also important because it helps slow the release of glucose in our food. So that helps keep our blood sugar balanced. And interesting, 1/3 of our calories as an adult should come from fat. So when we consume too much fat, it results in our body storing fat, and it can build up in our circulatory system and our organs, and that can lead to damage and disease. And fat really is an energy storage and is fuel for our body. So when we are low in energy, we may need to increase our fat intake. And consuming too little fat can also have consequences. It can result in low energy and can even lead to depression. So important thing to note is, fat doesn't make us fat, eating too much does. Carbohydrates are another macronutrient, and they are actually the body's most preferred and usable energy source. So let's think about how we want to fuel our engine. In general, carbohydrates are found in plant foods because carbohydrates are produced by photosynthesis in plants. There are some found in animal products because animals, like humans, store carbohydrates in their muscles, and muscles are usually the part of the animal that we do eat. Importantly, carbohydrates produce fiber, and we're going to talk a little bit more about fiber in the next slide, but it's important for helping us eliminate and remove toxins. So sources of carbohydrates are fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans and legumes, and some are found in animal products like meat. There's 2 types of carbohydrates. You may have heard these terms, simple and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are easily and quickly digested and used by the body as a quick energy source. But these are mostly found in processed foods such as white rice, white pasta. On the other hand, complex carbohydrates take longer to digest and in turn help us to feel full longer. And these are found more in whole foods, which are unprocessed, things like brown rice, fruits, and vegetables. So in general, focus as much as you can on foods that are not man-made. They're whole, they're processed foods, all of those fruits and vegetables, and that will ensure that you're getting enough fiber in your diet as well. Fiber, as we talked about in the previous slide, is a type of carbohydrate that the body can't digest. It's important because it helps regulate the body's use of sugar and helps our blood sugar stay stable. It helps to keep us full, and it helps to keep our digestive tract moving along. and it helps to absorb toxins in our body and helps to eliminate those toxins, and it helps to feed the good bacteria in our gut. We definitely want more of the good than the bad bacteria in our gut, and eating fiber certainly helps with that. So ideally, when you're looking at your plate, you want your plate to be, as we said before, half fruits and vegetables, a quarter protein, and another quarter grains. And that's going to ensure that we're getting enough fiber in our diet. So there's two types of fiber: soluble fiber, and that's found in fruits and vegetables. And this type of fiber dissolves in water and forms a gel. So this is something that can be helpful in softening stool if someone is constipated. Insoluble fiber is found in things like whole grains and cereals. It absorbs the liquid and adds bulk to our stool. So this can be important and helpful when someone has loose stool. So again, try and get as much fiber into your diet. Another thing to note is when you are consuming a lot of fiber, it's important to make sure that you stay hydrated. Water is another nutrient that our body needs in large amounts. It's really important for every cell in our body, and to stay hydrated is really important. Our body is almost 70% water. So what does water do in our body, and what does staying hydrated do? It certainly helps with our digestion. It helps eliminate the food that we've eaten and the toxins from our food, helps eliminate that from our bodies, helps our organs run properly. So things like our kidneys and our liver, it's really important to stay hydrated, lubricates our joints, keeps our mucous membranes moist. So we need enough water in our body to form saliva. Helps to support immunity and ward off infections, can help and prevent headaches. So next time you have a headache, you might want to try and have a glass of water or consume a high water content food and see if that is helpful. It might just do the trick. It also, staying hydrated also helps with regulating our body temperature. So water really does play an important role in the things that I've talked about, but also many more functions in our body. The next slide is a video on hydration. It's from Cityline, and it's called Proper Hydration is About So Much More Than 8 Glasses a Day. I hope you enjoy.
We all know that our bodies are mostly made of water, and we're supposed to try and keep them that way, but how do you know that you are dehydrated?
Well, when you're dehydrated, a few things happen. You might notice that your skin dries out. You get more frequent headaches. You might experience hypertension. That's high blood pressure. I've had a few cases, actually, patients where over the years, they're elderly. They're on numerous medications. I see them. I'm like, how much are you drinking? And I check their urine, and lo and behold, they're dehydrated. Put them on water, and no more blood pressure medication. I mean, it could be that easy in some cases. But we rely on water to function. We're 70% water.
Yes.
But for too long, I think we've over-focused on this general consensus, this rule of 8 glasses of water a day. So I'd like to debunk that. That's old military research that was used to conduct those studies and those outcomes.
You're kidding me. So yeah, not true?
Not true. You might actually need more, but often we need less. And so general rule of thumb, you want to divide your body weight in pounds by half. Yeah. And then that is the ounces your body requires on the average day when you're active. So for me, I'm 185 pounds. Yeah. I require roughly 11 glasses of water.
Well, I'm not throwing my weight out there.
Well, you don't have to.
Let's just say I'll have 8 to 10 glasses a day.
There you go. Okay. There you go. But some of us are smaller and we just simply need less. Okay. I'll tell you the number one way you can tell whether you're dehydrated or not, though, is the color of your urine. Yes. Okay? So what do you think? I mean, what color is yours typically during the day?
Mine, during the show.
By the way, first thing in the morning, it's first thing in the morning. It's typically a little bit darker, but let's call it the second day's void. That's right. So let's call it the second urine of the day.
While I am hosting this show, I drink so much water. By the end of the show, it's this.
Yep. Okay.
Like it's completely clear.
So that's.
But I'd say it mostly stays in this area.
Perfect.
I drink a lot of water.
So right here is the typical color: straw to amber. Straw to amber. Right here is the ideal color of your urine. If it's any darker, absolutely. If it's something like this, you may even have an infection. That's way
solid.
too. Yeah, so it's got to be.
Oh!
It's apple juice. Come on, it's apple juice.
Oh, okay. Yum.
It's apple juice. Everyone's freaking out in the audience. Anyways, that's my party trick.
Aim for that.
Aim for that one right there.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing to note is that your fruits and vegetables have a ton of hydration water in them.
Yes.
Even potatoes are 70% water.
Really?
So you have to take that into consideration. This is that old, again, military research. 8 glasses equivalent of a day, but they didn't account for the hydration levels in your fruits and vegetables.
Even these
not to mention the
leafy
antioxidants.
greens.
Absolutely.
These are watery.
Well, think about it. When you juice them or press them, how
Yeah.
much comes out, right?
That's right.
So again, focus on your 7 colors of fruits and vegetables: red,
Yeah.
orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, every single day. It's a great way to stay hydrated.
Lovely.
Let's talk about micronutrients, and these are vitamins and minerals that our body needs in smaller amounts compared to macronutrients. And our food contains many vitamins and minerals, and we can obtain most of them from our diet if we eat a balanced and full diet. If we don't, some deficiencies can occur, which can impact our health. So let's talk about vitamins and minerals. Vitamin A is helpful to keeping our eyes and our skin, teeth, and bones healthy. These are found in foods that are yellow and orange, and these can be like in carrots or yellow peppers. Vitamin B is helpful for feeding, converting food into energy for us to use. This can be found in foods like meats, fish, and dairy. Vitamin C is helpful for healing our wounds and providing immunity and fighting off viruses. These can be found in citrus fruits. Vitamin D is essential for our strong bones and teeth, and we can get vitamin D from milk, dairy, and we get it from the sun shining onto our skin. Vitamin E is helpful for our heart and is found in nuts and avocados. Vitamin K helps our blood clot properly and keeping our blood healthy, and it can be found in foods such as broccoli and Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and eggs. So let's talk about a few minerals. Calcium is actually very abundant in dark leafy greens. So if you're eating your dark leafy greens, you're probably getting enough calcium. Magnesium is the relaxation mineral and actually can help us sleep. And it's interesting to note when we're talking about calcium, if you're drinking too much or consuming too much caffeine, it can actually interfere with our bodies being able to absorb calcium in our food. And also to note that aspirin can irritate our gut lining or our intestinal tract, and that can interfere with us being able to absorb those B and C vitamins in our food. Digestion is the process of turning the food that we eat into nutrients, and then the body then uses these nutrients for energy, growth, and repairing our cells. So digestion is a really important process. It also is the process that creates the waste products that are then eliminated from our body. We don't want those waste products sitting in our intestines and being reabsorbed back into the body. So there's 2 types of digestion: mechanical and chemical digestion. So mechanical is actually where it starts in our mouth. Digestion is chewing is the first part of digestion. Then we need to swallow, and then the next part is after we've swallowed the food, it goes down our esophagus into our intestines, and then our body breaks down chemically with the use of hydrochloric acid in our stomach, bicarbonate, bile, and enzymes. These are all things that help our body break down that food. So it's important to note, how do you feel after you eat? Do you feel bloated? Do you have gas? Do you have loose stool? Are you constipated? These are all signs that our body is telling us that digestion is either working really well or we're having some issues with it. One tip to note is stress in eating is a factor. When we're stressed, we don't release those acids in our stomach in the same way in order to break down our food. So one way to combat that is to take a few deep breaths before you eat. It's going to calm your nervous system and allow your digestive process to work a little bit better. And another thing to note, our digestion can be too fast and it can also be too slow. If it's too fast, if food is moving through us too quickly, then the nutrients from that food are not being absorbed in our body and therefore not being used properly. And this is the case if we drink a lot of coffee with our food, because coffee actually instigates our stomach to release the contents much sooner than it would. If our food is sitting in our body too long, then it's probably undigested, and we're having undigested food sitting in our body, and it can actually be reabsorbed and into our body, and our body can be absorbing those toxins that were meant to be released. So just a reminder again, fiber is really important to help that food move through our body properly and help with digestion. Next, we'll talk about elimination, and this is getting rid of waste products that have been digested, assimilated through our body, and now it's ready to leave our body, and this is in the form of bowel movements. So when we're talking about this, we're looking at this chart. It's called the Bristol stool chart, and this is an indication and a good reference to look at and see how your bowel movements are, and whether they're normal or whether they're loose or whether they're too hard. So ideally, we want to be a number 3 or a number 4, sausage-like or smooth and sausage-like. And if you are closer to a 1 or 2, this can be constipation, whereas lower end 6 and 7, that's diarrhea. So these are all, again, indicators that your body is telling you something, that your digestion is not working properly, or something you've eaten is not agreed with you. You may have some food or intolerances or some allergies. Might be due to medications. It might be due to stress. Many factors affect our elimination. One of the good ways to understand if you are eliminating in a timely manner is that we actually should be eliminating between, it's called transit time. So from eating something to having it eliminated from your body, this should be ideally from 12 to 18 to 24 hours max. And one way to do it is called the beet test. So eat some beets and see how long it takes for it to come out. And that's a really good indicator of your transit time and how your digestion is working. So we've talked sort of more of the basics. Let's talk about what our food does and how our diet impacts our daily functioning. So food is really important to determine our development and growth. It helps us grow our bones, helps us grow muscles, and it's really important for brain development and functioning. So it's really something to consider in terms of feeding infants and children. Food can impact our ability to focus and concentrate. We know that food dyes and sugar and other preservatives can impact our ability to pay attention and concentrate. So this is really something to take note of for children, and what we're sending them off to school with a breakfast that is going to help them pay attention and concentrate at school, or whether it's not going to be helpful for them once they get to school. Energy levels. Without food, our body doesn't have the fuel that it needs to function. Our immune system. Food really does have an impact, and our bodies really do have an ability to heal themselves. So vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants all give our bodies the tools that we need to fight off viruses and disease. Food has an impact on behavior, mood, and mental health. We all know that we feel differently eating different foods, and some foods we feel much better. We're able to focus and have energy to do something. Just even having more energy is going to help our mood. Even being able to have energy to get outside is going to help our mood. And diet really does have an impact on our sleep and our ability to stay asleep. So, for example, foods high in tryptophan encourage sleep. Tryptophan is there's tryptophan in turkey. So eating foods high in tryptophan can encourage sleep, while there are some foods that stimulate our brain that obviously do not encourage sleep, and these are things like chocolate and sugar. Magnesium is really helpful for sleep. I mentioned it before, but it's a very calming mineral. And foods containing magnesium, like wheat, brown rice, almonds, peanut, spinach, chard, these are all things that you may want to think about adding to dinner or snacks to help with calming children before they're going to sleep. And as we talked about, food really doesn't have an impact on our digestion and our elimination. So now that we've gotten a little bit of information about the food that we eat and why it's important, how do we make healthy food choices? So one of the biggest ones is eat a variety of fruits and vegetables and eat the different colors of the rainbow. If you are focusing on the different colors, you are, tend to eat less of the processed and preserved food that has chemicals and other additives in it that are not necessarily good for our health. Another tip is include the 4 macronutrients that we talked about in your meals. So carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and water. These are going to give you the vitamins and minerals that your body needs to function optimally. Choose your beverages wisely. Do we want to add calories to our drink, or would we rather have calories in our food? So steer clear of those drinks that have a lot of calories and those drinks with a lot of sugar, because those are needless calories that we don't need to add. Instead, focus on drinks like water, and you can add many things to water like lemons, berries, cucumbers. You can drink herbal teas. These are all great ways to great options for staying hydrated. And focus on a whole versus processed food. Remember, a whole food is something that we know exactly what it is, and it's not processed in any way. It's not changed in any way. So a whole food is an apple or an orange or a carrot. We know what's in that. Whereas processed food has been changed from its original food item into something new. And we know that processed food has preservatives and additives and artificial ingredients, and these are done for a few reasons: to increase the shelf life, keep the food on the shelf and being able to purchase it much longer. They do it to make it look better. They do it for marketing. They do it to enhance the color and the flavor of foods, and sometimes it helps with preparation. But if you have a choice, always choose the whole foods if you can. Consuming enough fiber is really important. We talked about how fiber makes us feel full. It helps us. It helps bind to the toxins in our food and remove those toxins, get eliminated from our body, and it also helps to keep our blood sugar balanced. Become aware of food and how it makes you feel. So when you're consuming something, how does it make you feel after you've eaten it? Does it make you feel energized and ready to go run a marathon, or does it make you tired and want to sit on the couch? Does it make you gassy? Does it make you bloated? Does it go right through you and you have to go to the washroom? If you leave with anything today, please be aware of how food makes you feel and make changes accordingly. If something is not agreeing with you and you never feel good after you eat it, then try some alternatives and try removing that food item and see if it makes a difference for you. Avoiding those artificial additives, preservatives, including sugar. Again, sugar is used to sweeten and preserve and make things taste better. And here's something interesting. Did you know that Canadians eat approximately 88 pounds of sugar per year? That's a lot of sugar. So be aware what is in the product that you're buying, which leads us to reading the labels. Particularly, reading a label, the first ingredient is the ingredient that has the highest amount in that food. So if sugar is the first ingredient on your label of something that you're buying, then you probably want to look for alternatives, because that would mean there's a lot of sugar in that product. And reading the label also gives you an indication that there could be sugar or other foods that you're sensitive or allergic to. A lot of foods have sugar in it. You wouldn't expect it to have sugar in it. A lot of foods have gluten in it that you wouldn't expect it to. So take some time, read the labels, and choose some alternatives as much as possible. And if you don't know what something is, look it up. If you don't know what an ingredient is, look it up. And chances are, if you don't know what it is, it's probably something that you don't want to be consuming anyway. I really like this quote: your diet is a bank account, good food and good food choices are a good investment. So that's one way to look at healthy eating, and making healthy food choices is a good investment for your health and your overall well-being. So what can we do? Making small changes over time is much more feasible than making big changes. Making small changes, you're more apt to be able to stick with it, and you're going to be more motivated to make other changes down the road. If you stock your fridge with healthy choices, you'll eat food that are good. Foods that are good for you. If you have that food at home that's maybe not so healthy for you, it's going to be tempting. It's going to be calling out to you. So keeping healthy snacks and food visible for you to see, it means you're more aptly, you're more likely, going to eat them. Some other ideas are to, cut up fruits and veggies and store them in clear containers in the fridge so that you can see them when you open the door. They're not stuck, somewhere in the drawer and you can't see them. If you have them visible, you open the fridge, you're more apt to grab some. Staying hydrated. We talked about the importance of water and all the thing that water and hydration does for our body. So one tip is to keep a water bottle with you at all times, whether you're at home or on the go. If you have water with you, you're apt to drink it. So adding some fruit or vegetables to water is definitely going to make it more tasty. Chew your food. We talked about digestion, and chewing your food is one of the best things you can do to help your digestion all the way down the line. And if you chew your food, it means that the rest of the digestive process doesn't have to work as hard. But if you don't chew your food properly, it has to work extra hard, and that's where we're going to maybe see some digestive issues, because you may not have all of the other tools to break down your food. Mindful eating, we didn't talk about it, but mindful eating is a concept of taking the time to enjoy your meals, taking the time to sit down with your family, enjoy how the food feels, enjoy the texture, the taste, the smell of the food, and being grateful for where your food came from, and being grateful that you're able to eat that food. That can be really powerful and something that you can do with your family every day. So I hope that today has given you some information that's been helpful, and I really think even if you come away with one or two things today, it's going to be helpful for you moving forward. And I really like this quote, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Nobody is perfect, but being aware and having the knowledge about food and the impact that it has on our overall health is really powerful, and that you can start fresh today. We hope that you'll stay engaged with us at Surrey Place. You can register for live events at mysurreyplace.ca, and you can view recorded events and resources at surreyplace.ca/resources. We hope that you can get involved and join our Family Connections group on Facebook. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about nutrition today.